Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinau Aditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Good morning. Today we'll begin our practices with a brief introduction about the Himalayan Yoga Tradition. As you know, we've been practicing a series of studies such as the joints and glands exercises. I've introduced these as a set of practices that Swami Rama, a venerable sage from the Himalayas, taught as preparatory exercises, preparatory movements to work with our awareness and the observation of our awareness. By doing these simple exercises and observing ourselves doing these exercises, using in particular a state of mind which is contemplative and self-aware, mindful, we are practicing yoga in the Himalayan Yoga Tradition. As you have heard in earlier sessions, this is an awareness-based tradition rather than a performance-based tradition. We're practicing all of our movements, the movements of our mind, the movements of energy within our body, the movements of our breath, and the interconnectedness of all of these movements as awareness-based movements. The Himalayan Yoga Tradition is a very, very old tradition, and yet the practices are timeless, every bit as relevant today as they were in antiquity. Not only are we practicing exercises such as the joints and glands series, practicing laying on the floor, doing Makarasana or crocodile pose in order to study the movements of the diaphragm and gain greater awareness of the feeling of that muscle and the nerves, the neural networks that are activated by our minds as we breathe. And related movements, we're also practicing more subtle awarenesses of our thoughts and our emotions, of our desires, our cravings perhaps, our habits. In fact, that's really what we're doing with this awareness, is we're studying our habits, our personal habits. So this is part of the Himalayan Yoga Tradition, and it falls under the Sanskrit words, the yamas and the niyamas. The yamas are categories of practices in habits and observation of those habits. And the niyamas are refinements, you might say. And these form the basis for Raja Yoga, or the synthesis of many, many different practices. This is the Himalayan Yoga tradition. So it's not just physical movements, it's not just to see how far we can bend ourselves, how flexible we can be. We're not practicing to just gain greater flexibility in our hamstrings or the ability to sit in the proverbial lotus position. It's more having to do with steadying the states of awareness and our states of mind, how these have physical correlates. And eventually, we learn meditation. We learn to go within ourselves and to relax the body, relax the effort, and to begin to study the thoughts that we're having and the awareness of the thoughts themselves. This is also the Himalayan Yoga tradition. And fortunately, this tradition is with a long history of teachers and students. And it's an oral tradition, which means that the practices are taught firsthand. And a student has a chance to really gain proficiency under the guidance of a teacher. And a student really needs to gain that proficiency before the next stage in a practice can be taken up, which means again that it's experiential. It's an experiential tradition. So as a student takes up a practice under the recommendation of a teacher, under the guidance of a teacher, the student may have questions, may have certain issues that come up, and the teacher is always there to help the student make good choices. So eventually there's a transition in the practices, more subtle awarenesses develop, and the more of a capacity for entering into the meditative states of awareness. And eventually a student might be given a mantra or a mental support to help them further this awareness of meditation and more subtle movements of energy. In the Himalayan Yoga tradition, the awareness of energy in the body, in the mind, in the body-mind, this is referred to as Prana Vidya. Prana is the Sanskrit word which refers to energy, the movement of energy, and Vidya means direct experience, direct knowledge. So it's not a book learned knowledge, it's a direct awareness of energy. So Prana Vidya means to become aware of the flow of energy into the body and to experience it, and under the guidance of a teacher to perform yet more exercises to gain still more subtle awareness, leading eventually to deep and profound states of meditation. So in a nutshell, this is the meditative yoga tradition. Many of the other yoga traditions that we see around us today, if you look hard enough, you will discover that they have their roots in the Himalayan yoga tradition. It's the oldest tradition. And our teachers